This monk spread his arms wide, with a sharp knife suspended under each armpit. Then, while lifting 2 buckets of water, each weighing 100 pounds. Next, he needed to walk up a 90-degree slope and pour the water into a ditch at the top, letting it flow down into the pool below. This was no easy task because he had to maintain his balance the entire time and keep his arms outstretched. If his arms dropped even slightly, the 2 blades would pierce him. At first, he hadn't mastered the technique and could only wobble his way to the top of the slope with the water. To learn martial arts as soon as possible, he started carrying 500 buckets of water every day. After several months, he stood out among his fellow disciples. Now, he not only carried the 2 buckets at lightning speed, but even had energy left over to help his fellow brothers. Seeing him helping others, the master immediately stopped him. During training, you must never help your fellow disciples, because it will only prevent them from ever achieving anything in their practice. The monk felt very uneasy hearing this. After the master approved of his performance, he ordered him to proceed to the next level of testing. At this stage, the monk was required to stand between 2 lit candles, and his eyes had to follow the flames as they swayed left and right. But during this process, his head could not move even slightly. This was meant to sharpen his mental discipline, and the man was confident about it. At first, his eyeballs could barely follow the candlelight. However, when the abbot suddenly picked up the pace, he couldn't help but move his head and got burned by the candle. The abbot warned him that his head must never move with his eyeballs and ordered him to try again. The monk refused to give up and stepped forward to try again. This time, his gaze became sharp, and no matter how fast the abbot accelerated, his head remained absolutely still. Seeing this, the master smiled with satisfaction. Next came a new test, but the training method was truly puzzling. He needed to focus completely on listening to the master strike the wooden fish. Every time the abbot struck the wooden fish, he needed to swing an iron hammer to strike the large bell. When he first heard this order, the monk was rather dissatisfied. He felt this kind of training was a complete waste of time. But unexpectedly, the moment he picked up that iron hammer, he immediately realized how difficult it was. It turned out this seemingly ordinary iron hammer had a hidden trick. Although the hammer head itself weighed only 10 pounds, it was tied to the end of a long, flexible bamboo pole with no leverage point whatsoever. Lifting it felt like it weighed 120 pounds, and he had to use only one hand. As a beginner, he could initially only grip the bamboo pole at less than 1/10 of the distance from the hammerhead to barely lift the hammer. But after just a few swings, his wrist was completely exhausted. He looked at the master who was still striking the wooden fish, and a competitive spirit instantly surged in his heart. He grabbed the bamboo pole and continued striking forcefully until his wrist became purple and swollen. Several months later, he could firmly grip the end of the bamboo pole, and keeping pace with the abbot's increasingly rapid rhythm, swing and strike with powerful force. At this point, the monk had passed this test. The abbot not only promoted him to overseer of the scripture pavilion, but also allowed him to enter the final test. This test was to defeat the master. The monk swung his staff and launched a fierce attack, but after just a few moves, he was easily defeated by the master using only a small knife. Though discouraged, he was not the type to give up easily. One day, when he accidentally broke a bamboo stick into 3 sections, an idea suddenly flashed in his mind. He connected the 3 sections of bamboo staff together, transforming it into a 3-section staff. Then, wielding this new weapon, he went to challenge the master again. This time, he seized a fleeting opportunity and knocked the small knife out of the master's hand, winning the match. Finally, after enduring countless trials, he had grown into a true martial artist.